Shalom. Okay, so this video is going to be a little bit different than some of the other ones. I say that all the time. Okay, but for real though, this video is going to be about fasting because this year a lot of you are going to be doing a lot of fasting. Fasting is supposed to be a way of life for Christians, and it's a lot of us that don't really do it. Fasting for me is a huge sacrifice because I am a huge foodie. I love food. It doesn't really matter what it is. I eat pretty much everything. It's not very many things that I won't eat. And I don't just eat, I eat all day. I just love food. But I want to tell you guys about my first time, because I've done 3 40-day fasts in the 12 years. Yeah, in the 12 years that I have been walking with Yeshua. And I want to say about the first one because that one was like, okay, so it was 2014, January 2014, as a matter of fact. And at the time I didn't have a car. It had been 3 years now that I didn't have a car. In 2011, I literally was driving my car and it just stopped working in the middle of me driving it. And there wasn't one mechanic that could find what was wrong with this car. And then months later, after I finally was just like, I gotta sell it because I had it at my brother's house, and what is it, the homeowners society or whatever, the neighborhood, something told some type of like county authority or something was like, you can't have vehicles sitting in your yard that are immobile for a certain amount of days. And because he couldn't drive it, he had started to get little warnings and stuff from this entity. And I was just like, okay, well, just sell the car. And one of his neighbors was actually interested in buying it, so he bought it for like $500, and I didn't want to sell it for $500 because it was like my favorite car. It was a Honda Civic. I always wanted a Civic. I had my Civic and I had to sell my Civic, and then a week later he found what was wrong with it. So it was really just God was sending me out into the wilderness, and he did not want me to have a car. He was testing me because I wound up walking some of everywhere. That's when I learned how to ride the MARTA in Atlanta, because prior to that I had always either been in a car with someone or had my own vehicle. So I had never ridden the public transportation, except, well, one time, but that was like, I was really young. But anyway, so that was the beginning of this adventure. So fast forward 2014, I'm staying in my own apartment. This is after the Lord had just came through in a major way. 2 major miracles in 2013. And I just say 2 major miracles because it was a lot of them, but it was 2 major miracles. So beginning in 2014, January, I was in prayer, and I remember hearing him say, I'm going to give you a car this year that you don't have to pay for. So I remember I was telling him, but yeah, he's going to give me a car. He's going to give me a car. I don't have to pay for it. Now, here it is, I want to say August. And I still hadn't received that car. I wasn't worried about it. But I remember I was riding on the bus, and I like to sit next to the window because I like to look out, because I'm not going to lie to you. Even though I'm a friendly person, if I can avoid having conversations with people, I do. Just because I've always been that person that random strangers will walk up to and just start pouring out their entire life story to. And although I have met some pretty interesting people that way, and it does make me feel good because it lets me know that I give off this presence that, I'm approachable and people can confide in me. But, sometimes you're just like, I don't feel like talking today. So I'm looking out the window and I'm looking at the cars. I think we're sitting at a red light. And as I'm looking down, it's like I could see myself in a car. I couldn't see what the car looked like, but it's like I could see myself driving. So I went home. I was house sitting for like 2 months for the mother of a gentleman that worked with my mother at the time. And one of my friends was staying at the house with me, helping me to house at this woman's house. And I remember going back to the house and I was like, yo, da da da, and I was telling her. And then fast forward to October. Now I'm starting to be like, okay, it's the 10th month of the year. January is when I heard this. And I was telling my dad, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to get me a loan. I was looking at how much money I was making, and I was just really calculating some things. And I was talking to him for 2 hours. I talked to him about, possibly taking out a loan at my credit union. And, if I paid this much every week, then I'd have it paid off by this amount of time. And I was asking about APR and all this other stuff, you know what I'm saying? Because prior to this, the only loans I've ever taken out were financial aid loans for my school. But because I've worked in financial aid, I knew how those loans worked. But I had never taken out a personal loan for any reason whatsoever. So after 2 hours, my dad lets me know that that in August, he had actually purchased a vehicle to give to me. Like the Lord had put it on his heart to buy me a vehicle. And he was working on it, fixing it up and everything. And he wound up bringing it down. Well, actually, I wound up having to, at the time I was in Georgia, he was in Tennessee. So I drove up to Tennessee. Well, took the mega bus to Tennessee to go get my car, but he wasn't finished working on it. It had some type of leak that he was trying to find, coolant leak. So it was actually a pretty important leak that he needed to find. So I wound up driving his second vehicle back because he had a Blazer and a Grand Prix, but the Blazer wasn't working. So I drove his Grand Prix back to Georgia because I remember it was something that I had going on. I can't remember, but I wound up driving that back. But then he drove my car down to Georgia, and then he drove his car back up to Tennessee. And I had my car. But let me tell you, prior to me getting the car, I had went on a 40-day fast that I started in September. So remember, the Lord told him to get the car in August. September 1st, I want to say was, actually I don't know what day in September it was, but I know it was in September is when I started the fast, and then October is when I actually got the vehicle. So let me tell you how this fast happened. So at the time, it was me and 3 other young women that had kind of collected around each other. One of them actually wound up moving into my apartment with me. The way we met is a whole nother different story, but me and her wound up being really kind of close. And I just kept, during my prayer and Bible study, I just kept hearing 40 days, 40 days. And specifically, it's like the different 40-day fast that people went on in the Bible, especially the one that Yeshua went on before he started his ministry. They just kept popping out. So I'm like, okay, I know you're not telling me to go on a 40-day fast. Prior to that, I think the longest I had ever been on a fast was the Daniel fast for 21 days. But you can eat on the Daniel fast. So this one that I kept hearing the Lord tell me to go on was strictly water and broth. And I'm like, okay. So he did lead me into it. But his final confirmation when I was like, nah, he's not telling me to go on a fast. One of our friends, one of the 4 girls came over to the house, and she was talking to me and the girl that lived with me. And she was like, yo, I think the Lord is telling me to go on a 40-day fast. And I literally looked at her and just rolled my eyes like, okay. So I guess I'm going on this 40-day fast. So finally I was like, all right, Lord, well, what do you want me to do? So Holy Spirit, and this is what I really want to get into, because with fast periods, you should always be led into them by Ruach HaKodesh, but especially on extended extreme fast, because here's the thing, a lot of us have a lot of unhealthy things going on in our bodies, and if Ruach HaKodesh does not lead you into an extreme extended fast, you can actually wind up hurting yourself or dying from these fasts. And I'm not lying. You can ask any doctor. They'll tell you the same thing. well, they won't tell you you got to be led into the fast by Ruach HaKodesh, but they will tell you that there's a potential of severe bodily damage or even potential death. So I was like, okay, I'll do the fast. What do you want me to do? So Ruach HaKodesh told me, he said, every day I want you to go as long as you can without eating. And then when you finally do eat, eat only healthy foods. And he didn't give me a specific amount of days. Only thing he said was, when I tell you to start the 40-day fast is when you start. So I didn't know how many days I was going to do this, getting up and eating. Getting up and fasting until I couldn't stand it anymore, and then eating. And it was usually around 7 p.m., 6 to 7 p.m. that I couldn't take it anymore, and I'd wind up eating something. And it actually wound up being 12 days. And now that I think about it, it's 12 disciples. 12 is a significant number. But it was 12 days that he had me to do that. And then on the 13th day, I woke up and I heard him say, start the 40-day fast. And it was a lot of stuff that went on during that fast. Wound up getting evicted out of that apartment, me and the young lady. So we moved into her grandmother's house. This is prior to us moving into the house that we were house sitting. So we wound up moving in with her grandmother. Her grandmother had a ton of demons at her house, and I even think that she was a little bit demon possessed herself. But I remember there was one time I'm standing in the kitchen, and there's an island in the kitchen, and I'm staring out into the living room, and like, okay, so the island is right here, and I'm staring off right here into the living room, and they're sitting like right here having a conversation or an argument, probably because she's arguing with her grandmother all the time. But I'm literally standing there, and I see like, it's like 3 or 4 demons just walking in a circle, and I'm literally sitting there staring like, and I don't know if I spoke in another video about the different types of demons, but these were strongmen. Strongmen, if you've ever seen the movie Predator, when he cloaks himself, that's how strongmen look. Like, if he's perfectly still, you can't tell he's there, but when he starts moving, you can see that there's a discrepancy in what you're seeing. Like, I just Google Predator, the movie Predator camouflage or whatever, and you'll see you'll see the special effect that I'm talking about, because that's how the strongmen look. So I'm seeing these things, walking around. Then I'm sitting in the den, and I happen to look towards the door because I hear my friend coming towards the room, but preceding her, I see this black mass like fly past the door going towards her grandmother's room. And then she comes and she walks into the room, and I'm like, she looks at my face and she's like, what's wrong? I'm like, you didn't see that black mass like fly past, like it was right in front of you. Then I would wake up with demons on the side of I woke up, it was something standing on the side of my bed breathing on me. Like I could feel the breath, and it was panting like it was a dog. And when you're first waking up, your brain's not fully functional. So I'm feeling this panting on my face, and I'm like swatting, like, go away, because in my brain I'm thinking it's a dog. But then slowly, the more I wake up, it's like I start to realize there's no animals in this house. And that's when my brain's like, and I realize, okay, I'm experiencing sleep paralysis, and I can't move, I can't do anything, and this thing is like on the side of the bed, like really staring at me. You know what I'm saying? Like full on black mass. And I could feel its breath on me. Like, it was very, very creepy. Then, so my friend that I was staying with, whose grandmother we were staying with, she worked at this Korean restaurant that was right next to a strip club in Atlanta. like the restaurant was on this corner of the block, and then if you walked across the street, there's a strip club. And she would get off at 10 o'clock. I got off at 8. So I would take the train and the bus to her job, because her coworkers, who all had cars, would get off from work, but none of them would offer to at least drive her to the train station. So she would be standing out on this corner after she got off work at 10 o'clock at night, by herself. So I started coming and meeting her because I'm like, that's not safe. I mean, I know that we have a Ruach HaKodesh with us, but I mean, come on, it's my homegirl, and we're going to the same place anyway. And plus, there's demons at her grandmother's house, so I really didn't want to show up there without her. So we're standing and we're waiting for the bus, and this homeless dude, like, I have no problem talking to homeless people. I do it all the time, but this one, like, he walks over and he asked us for some food. We didn't have any food, so we were like, well, all we have is candy. You want some candy? And he was like, no. So we're like, okay. So then he looks at me and he goes, do you see Satan? And I say, yes. But then he looks like I promise you, this is like how he's moving. So then he walks across the street to these women that are about to go into the strip club. Yes, women going into the strip club. And he starts harassing them, and I start walking over like I don't know, I guess I think I was like their superhero or something, like I was about to go wrestle the demon or something. So I start walking over, but the security guard comes over and he takes care of it. So the guy comes back. So then he was like, give me some candy. So we were like, okay. And we wouldn't go give him some candy. He was like, I don't want that. And we were just like, you know what? So then the bus comes. I make up this song. I don't know if you guys know the song. My God is awesome. Heals me when I'm broken. Okay, so I started making up this song. So MARTA is the name of the transit authority in Atlanta. It's Metro Atlanta Rapid Transit Authority is what it stands for. And I made up a song about MARTA in the tune of My God is Awesome. But it's called MARTA is Awful. And I would sing it for you, but I don't know. I don't know if it's a legal issue. If I were to start singing about it, I might get sued. I'm not trying to do that. So I'll look into it. Maybe if I'm able to one day, I'll sing it for you guys because it's actually pretty funny. But because we had the bus driver like in tears. He was like, oh my God, I can't believe you guys just made this song. So we get to the train station. We get on the train, and then it's like it's 3 stops. No, it's 4 stops before we get to the stop we have to get to. And every time we get to a stop, the only doors that won't open are the doors to the car that we're riding in. So now people are sitting there looking around like, what's going on? And I don't know if you guys have ever ridden in a subway train before. I know some of you have, some of you haven't. But there's like these little digital word readers that are on the wall. And they usually have different like announcements, or they'll say something like, what the next train station coming up is and everything. Well, when we got on, it had this weird writing on there. Like it literally looked like alien writing. And like that was the first clue that we were like, what? And then there was this guy that got into the same car as us, that he had been standing on the platform making this weird noise. He was like, he literally sounded like a demon was about to jump out of him. Like, and then he gets into the same car as us. So now the car doors are not opening at the stop, and it's only for our car. We see other people getting off the train, but the doors are not opening for our car. So I'm just like, listen, I don't care what the next train station is, if it's our train station or not. If the doors open, we're getting off. So so we get we get to the next train station. It's not the one, it's actually the one before our train station, but the doors opened finally. So literally everybody in that car runs off the train because we were just like, no, we're not gonna do this. Those are just some of the many things. There was also a lot of positive things that happened, because when you pray and fast, when you fast, you're supposed to fast for the intentions of turning down physical pleasure and seeking God. So you're supposed to do a whole lot of Bible study. You're supposed to do a lot of praying. You're also supposed to do a lot of serving. That's one thing that people miss a lot of. When you're fasting, you are actually supposed to be doing committing more acts of servitude to people than you normally would. But Ruach HaKodesh had me doing that, because at the time I was the administrator for the singles ministry at the church that I was a member of at the time. This is prior to Ruach HaKodesh telling me to come out of the organized church. So it just so happened that during this fast, it was the singles ministry, singles weekend, basically. And the entire weekend, which started on Friday and lasted until Sunday evening, was full of nothing but food, food, and more food. As a matter of fact, I'm about to tell you about a time in specific, but Friday we had desserts and a movie. I served. I didn't eat, of course. Saturday morning, we had a prayer meeting, a prayer breakfast meeting. And it wasn't just any breakfast served by, Chick-fil-A or something. It was someone's grandmother who had cooked pancakes, sausage, homemade gravy with biscuits. I mean, it smelled delicious. I don't know what it tastes like, but it smelled delicious. And I was like, really, God? But this is the one that really got me. So the minister that was over the singles ministry, Minister Clark, he was going to be preaching that Sunday during that same weekend at one of our affiliate churches. And he asked us to come support him. So I'm like, sure, whatever. I don't mind. He's a good guy. I feel like he's anointed. So, why not? So when I get to the church, it's me and another woman from the ministry that we're the first two there. And the first service is still going on. I think he only preached at the second service and somebody else preached the first service. So while we're standing there, one of the hospitality members comes over and she's like, hey, are you here for Minister Clark? And we're like, yeah, because we were here for Minister Clark. But somehow that for got turned into a whiff. And she was like, okay, follow us. And we're like, okay. So she starts walking us through. We go briefly into the sanctuary, but then we go, along the side and then go into this other door. And we're like in the side back part of the sanctuary. Then she leads us through this other door. And then this one last door. And it opens up into this big bright room that has this big long table full of food. And she said, sit, eat, enjoy yourself. And it was like all kinds of pastors and evangelists. Just basically the entire clergy was back there. And I'm just looking like, so people are coming by, they're like, eat. I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. And when I tell you the food looks so good. And this table was long and the food on it, oh my God. I was sitting there rocking back and forth like, Lord, this ain't that, but definitely this is, I'm sitting there. So finally she comes and gets, because she told us to wait for her. And she finally comes and gets us. And then she sits us, she walks us and sits us on the front row. And I'm really looking like, what is going on here? So before Mr. Clark comes out, she comes back. And she was like, are you the two young ladies that were here, for... By that time, the other members of the singles ministry had started to come, and they were like filling in behind us. She was like, are you the ones that were here with Minister Clark? Can you come with us? Pastor wants to see you. And finally, I was just like, I'm good. Like, I was like, I'm good, but thank you. And so, he came out and gave his sermon and whatnot, but it was just a lot of weird things. We also did something else on that Saturday. What was it that we did? We went to this thing called House in the Park at a park called Grant Park. And that's where they play house music in the park. But the other friend that had originally said, I think God's telling me to go on 4-day fast, she came with me. We had to walk from her house. So it was like 3 miles, I want to say, that we walked in Georgia heat to her house. To this park. By the time we got there, this was her 10th day of the fast. No, it was both of our 10th day, I want to say it was, because we started the same day. Yeah. She was about to die the entire time we were at the park. She's laying down, she's complaining, and I'm just like bubbly, bouncing all over the place, ministering to people, rubbing her back, dancing. I'm having a good time. And I said all that to say she was not led into the fast. I feel like she heard that specifically to come to my house to say that to me, to confirm that I was supposed to start the fast. Because when Ruach HaKodesh leads you into a fast, you should have energy. You should be excited to read the word. Like you should improve your overall demeanor, disposition, stature. Everything should just improve, and you should glow. I mean, it was so funny. Bless her heart. The pastor's daughter of the church that I was a member of at the time, she was also the worship leader, and I was a member of the choir. So me, her, and her mom, because her mom was in the choir too, and her mom was hilarious. But one day she came over to me, and she was so sweet. She was like, "Are you okay?" I looked at her and I was like, "What do you mean?" She said, "I just realized that you've been losing a lot of weight and you look a little sick." She's talking about weight-wise. I looked a little sick because back then I was already skinny. And then you got it. By this time, it was like day 32 of the 40-day fast. So, when you see yourself every day, you don't realize that, you're dropping down. But apparently, I had lost a lot of weight and was looking kind of sickly. So, people at the church, and you remember I was in the choir, so there was times where I was up in front of the entire church, and our church has like 3,000 plus members. So I'm up here in front of all these people withering away. And I just laughed at her. Like, there were some people that knew I was on a fast. I didn't go and broadcast it, but, because I didn't want her to feel like I was dying, I was like, "Don't worry about it. I'm fasting." She was like, "Oh, thank God." Like, it was such a huge relief. But yeah, it was a lot of things that came out of me, off of me. Oh, and then there was the glitchies. So me and the girl whose grandmother we were living with, we started realizing there were people, because one of the things I would pray every morning was, "Lord, let your light shine so brightly through me that it blinds the demons in other people." So it would be certain people that would look at me, and as soon as I would make eye contact with them, they would look away real quick, almost like it hurt their eyes to look at me, which let me know that God answered that prayer. But we started calling them glitchies because they would just look away real quick. And it was like if we looked away, you could see them turn back. And then they would just... I had met a woman that was thrown up on the outside of the MARTA station. I wound up helping her get to the shelter she was going to. I was getting off the bus going to the train station because I was heading into work. And this guy was walking next to me with his eyes fixated on me. And he looked angry, and he was just like, "You're nothing but a liar." Like, I didn't know this man from anywhere. And I'm just looking like, "Okay, dude." Because, I mean, there's a lot of crazy people. I'm sorry. A lot of demon-possessed people at the train station. I've changed it from crazy because now that I'm a child of Yah, I know better. They're not crazy. They're demon-possessed. But, so at first I'm just like, what's going on with this dude? So I get on the train, and then there's this woman, like, when you enter into the door, there's chairs that face each other, and then there's the chairs that face this way. So I'm sitting in the chairs that face, the side walls of the train, and this woman is a couple of rows back in the chairs that are facing this way. And she's looking at me, and she's just fussing and cussing, and I'm just looking like, what is going on? This is the same day. I'm looking like, what is going on? I would see stuff at my job. Like, I worked at Crate and Barrel at the time as a merchandiser, so I did a lot of stuff in the back. And I would go into the stock room sometimes, and it would be just me in the stock room, and I could see literally a dark black mask, like, pacing back and forth on one of the aisles. And I would walk down there and see that it was nobody there. Or the time that one of my supervisors, I was walking past her in the break room, and I happened to glance, and I looked back because when I glanced down at her, her face literally looked like somebody had put their finger in the middle of it and then swirled it around. Like, her face was just distorted, like a Picasso painting. And so, but when I looked back, it was normal again. And she said, "Hey." And I was like, what is going on here. Like, it was a lot of stuff that happened, and there's been some things happen. Um, I guess I can say it now because by the time you guys see this video, I won't be fasting anymore. So I'm actually on a fast now. So like I said, I won't be fasting by the time you see this video. So it's okay for me to say it. But yeah, it's been some weird stuff happening on this one. This is actually my third one. But yeah, so it's very important. I'm not gonna lie to you. There are spiritual benefits as far as, breakthroughs and all this other stuff. You can hear God better. He does move, seems like quicker when you're fasting. But I'm going to say, don't fast to get something from God. My 4-year-old will come over to me and give me a hug or a kiss, and that's how I know he wants something. Because the only time he's super sweet to me is when he wants something. And it makes me feel like I am being manipulated, but it makes me feel like, dude, like, is that the only time that I'm worth this? If affection from you is when you want something. And that's essentially the same thing we're doing to God when we fast to get something from him. We should be fasting to seek him. Now, the getting something is the extra added bonus that does come along with fasting. But I feel like even going into the fast, you have to you have to have the right motives. This fast that I'm currently on, I'm going to say that it's hard. The reason why I'm saying it's hard is because I am cleaning out what I let in through my backslidden state, my sexual sin that got me my son, and a whole world of headache from the relationship that I was in that got me my son. But the scripture where it says, about the house being swept clean, and then the demon leaves out into arid places searching for a place, and when it finds none, it comes back finding the house being swept clean, but because it's still empty, it goes and finds 7 more demons more powerful than itself. And the Bible, the word of Yah actually says that the last disposition of the man was actually worse than the first. So the person was actually worse off the second time. And I understand. The first time when I originally gave my life to Yeshua, it seemed like everything was just boom, 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 boom. It was easy. He told me to stop smoking and drinking. Bam, gave it up. Broke all the cigarettes. I had like 17 cigarettes in the pack. Broke them all up. Threw them in the trash can. Didn't even have cravings for it. He told me to stop drinking. Bam, bam, bam. No more drinking. You know what I'm saying? Like everything was like boom, boom, boom. But then when I fell into that backslidden state, while I was in the backslidden state, I couldn't fast at all. I would start off like, I would be like, oh, let me do a 10-day fast. I would last 3 days and then I'm off the fast. So then got to the point where I was like, well, let me do a 3-day fast, since I seem to be able to do, but I couldn't even do the 3. It's like I could not fast I couldn't fast as long as I was trying to fast while I was in the backslidden state. When I came out of it, it's still hard, but I feel like Yahuwah makes it harder when you're coming out of a backslidden state, because he wants you to really understand the cost of walking with him. Obviously, if you fell into a backslidden state, you didn't really understand the cost. So something was there that was able to lead you away from him, and something was there for me that was able to lead me away from him. I didn't understand the cost, and I had walked with him for a while before it happened, and I had seen all the things that he had done for me and the ways I was moving with him. It was actually after that first fast that I just got finished telling you guys all about that, I prayed for the rain to stop, and it stopped. I cast out demons out of my house. I was healing people like he was. Well, I wasn't healing people. Ruach HaKodesh was healing people through me. He stopped the rain when I prayed. I mean, it was signs and wonders and healings and stuff emanating from me. But I still didn't understand how precious that was. If I had understood it then, when that temptation came, I would have rejected that temptation, and I never would have fallen into it. I fell into it because I didn't understand. So now that I'm having to actually work for this thing, I understand the cost of it. I understand just how precious and valuable it is. And I understand that, listen, the man that Yahuwah brings me to for whoever my husband is, I understand that Yahuwah's going to dang near have to come down out of heaven himself and be like, that's your husband. Because at this point, baby, listen, I ain't trying to go back. Because if it's this hard after one backsliding episode, just imagine how much harder it's going to be if I backslide again. I might not come out of that. And I ain't trying to go to hell. I'm sorry. I listen, I want to meet my Heavenly Father. And I want to be, I want to dwell with my Lord and Savior, Ruach HaKodesh, all that. And I know I always get off on these little tangents. I apologize. But I just, maybe that was Ruach HaKodesh telling me to say that, because I feel it's very, 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 very important. I learned that this time. Like, it's very hard. Back then, on that first 40-day fast, which was my backslidden state, my second 40-day fast was post backslidden state. But my first 40-day fast, it's like when trials and tribulation came up against me, it was like, meh. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just got through them so easily. Like, yeah, they bothered me, but it's like the way I walked through them was so graceful. This time, it's like a bull in China shop. I'm so freaking emotional. It's not even funny. The thing is, Ruach HaKodesh told me I was going to literally feel everything during this fast. So, he wasn't lying. I mean, I dang near had an emotional breakdown at work today. I had to go talk to one of my supervisors. And I know it's because I'm fasting, and then I work at a place that's full of demons. Which, that's a whole different story for a whole different time. I've already talked 36 minutes. That's longer than I had expected to. But instead, I'd like to say, count the cost of discipleship and make sure that when you're praying and fasting, it's for the purposes of seeking Yahuwah and not to get something from him. Because that's manipulation. And, I mean, you might get what you're asking for, but then when you die, are you going to heaven? You know what I'm saying? Like, you should really just seek him. Because in his presence there's fullness of joy. So if you seek him, you'll have everything that you want. You'll be joyful and everything will be cool. Okay? Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helped you. Please, please always be led by Ruach HaKodesh into any fast. I don't care if it's just a 3-day fast. Be led by him. Ask him for the specifics of what it is that he wants to do. You can even ask him what it is he wants you to do while you're on your fast. My second fast that I went on, I actually had a list. I do a lot of writing, so I have notebooks everywhere. It's just something. Remember, I told you about my list of things that need to come out of me. So that was for the second fast. This is all the stuff that need to come out of me. But every day I would pray over it. But he had also given me instructions. I don't know if you can see it, but it says during fast 40 days. You know, he told me to read the book of Daniel during that fast. Not on the Bible app, but actually in my study Bible. He told me what day it started. I don't know if you can see that. November 9th. I know it's backwards. He told me to guard my speech and talk less. He told me no drinking whatsoever, meaning alcohol. He told me to converse with him more. He told me no television, which I'm not gonna lie to you, I think I accidentally broke that a couple of times, because sometimes you just go into autopilot, but whatever. He told me to work on some of the projects he had given me, which I did. Which, when you're working on projects that Yahuwah has given you and you're fasting, because you can't do anything else, it's like projects that normally would have taken you a few days to accomplish, you accomplish them literally in a few hours. I mean, I was building websites during this time, and I literally would build a website a day. You know what I'm saying? Which is something that shouldn't be a day's worth of work, but it only took me a day. I was supposed to listen more to people. I was supposed to worship him through song. spend more time with my son, write up a prayer list and pray over it daily. And then he even gave me the people to put on the prayer list, and my son's father was one of them. Actually, the prayer list consisted of 5 people, and all 5 people were 5 people that had done me horribly wrong over the past 4 years. So those were the 4 main people I was supposed to pray for. I was supposed to apologize to someone, which I did. I was supposed to exercise with my son, which I didn't because he didn't want to exercise. I exercised a little. I was supposed to research the ingredients for a metabolism boost, but I just wound up buying the metabolism boost because I found out that you could buy them at the store. So I was just like, whatever. Which, I mean, now I'm starting to sound really disobedient because maybe it was the reason why he wanted me to research it. But I took it. I was supposed to keep my 10 p.m. intimate time with him because that's the time that I have set aside, which I'm probably going to wind up doing it even longer. I was supposed to purchase broth, which I did. Pray for this woman that was in the prayer group I was in. I was supposed to be okay with people hating me. And there's the last 3 things are very personal, so I'm not going to say what those are. But point is, prior to you starting the fast, just seek him for the instructions. Seek him for how he wants you to conduct the fast. Just be led. Because even in me being led to do these things, you know, I was led to go into the fast, but I was also led to do specific things during this fast. It teaches obedience, and it teaches how to recognize his voice even more. Of course, the ultimate way of knowing the voice of Yahuwah is through his written word, because he will never contradict his written word. So that is the number one way. And then, of course, you talk to him about, you know, I see this, I don't understand it, and then he'll elaborate on it and reveal things to you through his Ruach. But yeah, just be led. And like I said, this year is going to be the year of fasting, because I just feel like, I'm not even going to say I just feel like, this is going to be the year of fasting. Ruach HaKodesh has told me this is going to be a year of fasting. And it might just be what he's saying to me, but I'm saying it out loud to you because it might be a confirmation to you. Who knows? But I know for me, this is going to be the year of fasting, because it's a lot of stuff going on in this world. A lot of us are being promoted this year and exalted in his Ruach. And we're going to be walking so closely to him, doing things that we can't even imagine doing, that there's going to be a need to be, for our flesh to die, pretty much. Like, our flesh needs to die completely. And that is one of the things that happens when you fast. You crucify your flesh, because you learn to stop responding to the urges of the flesh, which your stomach growling is an urge of the flesh. So you learn to stop responding to the urges of the flesh and replacing them with spiritual behavior, prayer, song, or worship through song, Bible study and whatnot. And here's the last thing I wanted to say to you. Water, water, and more water. Water is your friend on a fast. Why? Because hunger pains and thirst pains feel the same. A lot of times when our stomach is growling, we feel like we think that we're hungry because that's what we've been taught. But sometimes you're actually thirsty. So when you get that urge, pray. When you get the urge to eat, pray, but also drink you some water, because I can guarantee you, if you drink enough water, you won't feel hungry anymore. You'll actually feel full. I thought I had a bottle in here. I learned that 4 of the 16-ounce water bottles actually is the minimum amount of water that we're supposed to have per day. That equals roughly 64 ounces a day. And we're supposed to drink at least 64 ounces of water a day. We can drink more, but you also have to realize that too much water or too much of anything is bad for you. Too much water can actually overhydrate you, which is a whole different set of problems that you don't want to have. So you want to keep it in an even middle. So my advice to you is just drink you 4 water bottles a day and you'll be good. Unless you have that hunger pain, first thing you should do is pray, but then drink you some water as well. So this was my 40-day fast experience, not for this 40 days, but the very first one that I ever went on. And I hope that this helped you guys, because for the ones that are watching this video, you're not going to be going on a little punk fast. Y'all going to be going on some extended fast, some severely, excruciatingly extended fast. So just woosah and prepare yourself. It'll be all right. All right. Love you guys. Shalom.